I used to think being a lawyer in Ocean City was boring, until this morning when I saw that classified file on my uncle's desk. Now, I wish it was still boring. I'm Emma Richardson, a 29-year-old attorney. This story is about a case that turned my life upside down. My client Sarah Mitchell is accused of murdering her husband, but I believe she's innocent. The real killer is someone else entirely, and their identity will shock you. This case taught me that justice isn't always easy. Sometimes you have to fight even your closest family. Sometimes doing the right thing means betraying your own blood. That morning, I woke up early as usual. Ocean City's silence and the constant sound of waves hitting the shore greeted me every morning. But today, everything felt different. Even the air itself seemed tense. While making my coffee, my cat just wrapped around my legs. The name wasn't a coincidence. I named her after my passion for justice. Today's going to be a strange day. Justice, I said while petting her. I had no idea how right I was. As I sipped my coffee, I remembered my Uncle Robert calling last night. There was tension in his voice, but my uncle was always a bit anxious anyway. Come in early tomorrow, Emma, there's an important file, he had said. This wasn't particularly unusual either. When I left my apartment, I was met with Ocean City's familiar morning atmosphere. The smell of the sea, seagulls' cries, and the silence of a city not yet awake. I loved this small town. It was a place where everyone knew everyone, safe and peaceful. At least I thought so. Walking to Richardson and Associates, I got lost in thought. I'd been working at this firm for 3 years. Mostly simple commercial cases, divorces, real estate deals. Nothing exciting, but it paid the bills until this morning. When I arrived at the building, it was only 7:45 a.m. Security guard Marcus was surprised to see me. "What are you doing here so early, kiddo?" he asked with a smile. I liked him, a good-hearted man about my father's age. "Big case, Marcus," I told him. "You know how it is, going up in the elevator." I had a strange uneasiness inside me. When I reached the 3rd floor where our office was located, I found the quarters completely empty. I was alone, and this made me a bit nervous. Instead of going to my own office, I headed straight to my uncle's office. His door was ajar, and I could hear a quiet conversation from inside. As I approached, I realized my uncle was on the phone. This file is too risky. If it leaks out, everything will be ruined. I gently pushed the door open and peered inside. My uncle was on the phone and hadn't noticed me. A thick file sat on his desk with confidential written in red letters. This wasn't normal at all. I'd never seen such files in our office. "Uncle Robert," I said hesitantly. My uncle turned so suddenly he nearly fell out of his chair. He immediately hung up the phone, and I could see clear panic on his face. "Emma, when did you get here?" "Just now." "You were on the phone. I didn't want to disturb you, but ... double quotes. My eyes remained fixed on that classified file. My uncle quickly put the file in his drawer. "Oh, that ... It's not important, just routine stuff," but the nervousness in his voice gave everything away. "Yesterday you called me and mentioned an important file." Yes, that's a different case." "Come sit down." My uncle took a deep breath and turned to me. "Emma, I want to give you a very critical assignment. This could be a turning point in your career." I got excited. Was I finally going to get a big case? "What kind of assignment?" "You'll be handling the Sarah Mitchell case." Sarah Mitchell. I'd seen this name in the newspapers. Wasn't she the woman in that murder case? The woman accused of killing her husband? Yes, that's her. It's a very sensitive and complex case. "I want you to defend this woman." My heart started beating fast. This would be my first murder case, but Uncle, my criminal law experience is very limited. I've been dealing with divorces, commercial cases. "I know, Emma, but there are special reasons why we want you on this case." There was an expression in my uncle's eyes that I tried to understand. "Sarah is a woman your age. She can trust you. And you have a very strong sense of justice." "We? Who else is involved in this case? The firm partners. This case is extremely important to us. Something was wrong here. Why would they give me such a critical murder case? Uncle, why isn't one of our more experienced attorneys taking this case? Because this isn't an ordinary case. Emma, we're certain of Sarah's innocence. But the evidence is against her. Our job is to ensure justice. How do you know she's innocent? My uncle remained silent for a long time. You'll understand that in time. Now take the file and meet with Sarah. I've scheduled an appointment at the prison for 2 p.m. I stood up and walked toward the door. But the question marks in my mind were bothering me. Uncle, is the file you just put in your drawer related to this case? Which file? His face tensed. The classified file I saw on your desk. Oh, that ... No, completely different matter. You focus on Sarah. When I left his office, my mind was in chaos. What was going on? Why was he being so secretive? And most importantly, why give me this case instead of an experienced attorney? When I went to my own office, the Sarah Mitchell file was waiting for me on my desk. As soon as I opened the file, seeing the photographs inside deeply shook me. Crime scene photos, blood traces, scattered furniture. And Sarah's arrest photo. Sarah was 31 years old. A beautiful woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. Her expression in the arrest photo was tired and scared. But at the same time, there was an innocent look on her face. Maybe I just wanted to see it that way. When I examined the file more carefully, I saw that the evidence was really against her. Fingerprints on the murder weapon, neighbors' testimonies, they had heard fighting that night. And worst of all, she had previously filed a domestic violence report against her husband. But something was missing, Sarah's own defense. Her statement in the file was very brief. I didn't kill my husband. I wasn't home that night. At 9 a.m. my assistant Grace arrived. Good morning, Emma. You're here very early. Good morning, Grace. It's going to be a busy day. We're taking on the Sarah Mitchell case. Grace's face changed. That horrible murder case, but you don't handle criminal law. I thought so too, but apparently I will now. I spent the rest of the morning studying the file. The more I read, the more confused I became. The evidence seemed very clear. But my instincts were telling me different things. Was this woman really innocent? During lunch break, I called my closest friend Victoria. Are you free today? I'm very confused, of course. Let's meet at the cafe by the shore. I met Victoria at our cafe by the shore. This was my favorite place in Ocean City. Sitting facing the sea, I poured my heart out. You're taking the Sarah Mitchell case? Emma, have you lost your mind? Victoria was shocked. I'm wondering if I've lost my mind too. My uncle insisted strongly. That woman killed her husband. Emma, all the evidence is there. What if she didn't? Emma, you're too optimistic. People might not be what they seem sometimes. Victoria's words echoed in my mind. What if Sarah wasn't what she seemed either? At 1:30 p.m. I headed to the prison. Ocean City Prison was outside the city. During the journey, I planned what I would ask. This was my first client meeting. I was both excited and anxious. ID control was done at the prison gate. I showed my attorney ID. I have an appointment to meet with Sarah Mitchell. The security guard looked at his records. She already has a lawyer. Who are you? I'm her new attorney. From Robert Richardson at Richardson and Associates. Okay, you can go in. As I entered the meeting room, my heart was pounding. This was my first murder case, and nothing seemed normal. The moment I saw Sarah, she looked much more exhausted than in her photos. Her hair was disheveled. There were dark circles under her eyes. But that innocent expression was still on her face. Sarah, I'm Emma Richardson. I'm your new attorney. Sarah looked up at me. A light of hope appeared in her eyes. New attorney, what happened to my previous lawyer? I'll be handling your case from now on. I'm here to help you. Will you believe me? Sarah's voice was trembling. I'll listen to what you have to say. Then we'll decide together. Sarah took a deep breath. I didn't kill my husband. I wasn't even home that night. Where were you that night? At my mother's place, but my mother ... she has dementia. She's not in a condition to testify. This was a bad situation. Her only witness wasn't reliable. Didn't anyone else see you? No, I was alone with my mother. Sarah, what was your relationship with your husband like? Sarah fell silent. Michael ... he was very angry, sometimes. He was violent. You filed a domestic violence report before. Yes, but then I dropped it. Because Michael promised he would change. What happened that night? Why did you go to your mother's? Michael was angry again, yelling and screaming. I couldn't stand it and ran to my mother's. When I returned home in the morning ... The police were waiting for me, who had keys to the house. Only us. And ... Michael's brother James had a spare key. This was interesting. Do you know James? Well, he hated Michael. They were always fighting. What did they fight about? Inheritance issues ... Michael's business. James always criticized Michael. I had found my first clue. Sarah, can you give me more information about James? James was a gambling addict. He constantly asked Michael for money. Michael wouldn't give it to him. Recently, there were big fights. When the meeting ended, a theory began to form in my mind. What if the real killer was James? When I left the prison, it was getting dark. When I returned to the office, my uncle was still in his office. How did the meeting go? He asked. Interesting. I'm starting to believe in Sarah's innocence. Great. Then our job will be easy. Uncle, are there things about this case you haven't told me? My uncle hesitated for a moment. What do you mean? The classified file I saw this morning. Is it really not related to this case? Emma, focus on this case. Don't get caught up in unnecessary curiosity. That night when I got home, Justice greeted me. Today was very strange. Justice, I told her. But I feel like tomorrow will be even stranger. The next day I got up early. Today I needed to find James. His address was written in the file. He lived in one of the suburban neighborhoods of Ocean City. When I went to James's house, an elderly woman opened the door. I'm looking for James Mitchell. James? He doesn't live here anymore. He moved. Do you know where he moved? I don't know. He left very hastily a few months ago. This seemed suspicious. Why had he moved hastily after Michael's death? When I returned to the office, I told Grace to research James, find James Mitchell's new address. Research his background, too. In the afternoon, I went to court to learn the date of the first hearing. The hearing was next Monday. I only had 1 week to prepare myself. That evening when I got home, I found an envelope at my door. My name was written on it, but no sender was indicated. When I opened the note, I was shocked. Drop this case, or you'll be in trouble. Who could have sent this? And why were they bothered by my defending Sarah? The next day, Grace came with great news. I found James Mitchell. He's living on the other side of town in the Riverside area. And I learned interesting information. What? James had serious gambling debts. 2 days after Michael's death, he paid off a large debt. This was very suspicious. Where did he get the money? Unknown. But it was a very large amount. I'll talk to James today. When I went to James's new house, he opened the door himself. A middle-aged man who smelled of cigarettes and looked nervous. James, I'm attorney Emma Richardson. I'm Sarah's lawyer. What do you want? I just want to ask a few questions. Can I come in? I'm in a hurry. Another time, it'll be very brief. About Michael, James hesitated. Michael is dead. What's there to talk about? Where were you the night of the murder? At home, alone. Didn't anyone see you? Why would they? I said I was home. When was the last time you spoke with Michael? I don't remember. James's behavior was extremely suspicious. He was clearly lying. James, can we talk about your gambling debts? My debts are none of your business. He tried to close the door. I learned that you paid off a large debt after Michael's death. James's face tensed. How did you learn that? That's not important. What's important is where you got this money. You can't prove anything. I'm not trying to prove anything yet. We're just talking. This conversation is over. He slammed the door shut. James's reactions made him even more suspicious. But I had no concrete evidence. That evening I stayed at the office until late. I went through the case file over and over. Something must be escaping my attention. While reading the police reports, an interesting detail caught my attention. There had been a power outage in the neighborhood on the night of the murder. There was uncertainty about the times. The next day, I met with the neighborhood headman to investigate this issue. Was there really a power outage that night? Yes, it lasted about 2 hours, between 9 o'clock to 11 p.m. Do these kinds of outages happen often? No, very rarely. I can't remember such an outage for years. This was quite suspicious. Was the power outage a coincidence or intentional? When I spoke with the electric company, I learned that the outage that night wasn't a technical malfunction. Someone might have intentionally cut the power. The trial day was approaching. I had strong suspicions, but no concrete evidence. How was I going to save Sarah? In recent days, I received a second threatening letter. Final warning, drop this case. Now, I was certain. Someone wanted Sarah to be convicted, and they were threatening me for it. The day before the trial, I spoke with my uncle. This case is starting to get dangerous. I'm receiving threatening letters. Maybe you should drop this case. Emma, uncle. An innocent woman will go to prison. I can't drop it. Sometimes justice comes at a high price. Do you want me to drop it too? My uncle remained silent. This silence made me think a lot. While making final preparations before the trial, Grace came with important information. Emma, I examined James's phone records. He had long conversations with someone on the night of the murder. With whom? The records only show a number, but this number belongs to Richardson and associates. My world collapsed. Had James spoken with my uncle's office? Grace, can you find out who owns this number? I already did. It belongs to Robert Richardson, your uncle. I was shocked. Had my uncle spoken with James? Or was I misunderstanding? I immediately rushed to my uncle's office. The door was locked, but I had a key. When I went inside, I saw that classified file on his desk. This time it was open. When I took the file, its contents put me in deep shock. There was a secret agreement made with James Mitchell. According to this agreement, after James killed Michael, he would ensure Sarah was blamed, and in return my uncle would pay him money. My hand started trembling. Was my uncle involved in this murder? How was I going to protect Sarah? I documented the file with my phone camera and immediately left. Now, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't sleep the night before the trial. The next day, I was preparing for the hardest day of my life. On trial day, there was an intense media crowd in front of Ocean City Courthouse. Everyone was following this case with curiosity. When I entered the courtroom, I saw Sarah. She was very pale and anxious. I sat next to her. Don't worry, Sarah. Today we'll reveal the truth. I trust you so much, Emma. The prosecutor began the case. He presented the evidence one by one. Fingerprints, witness statements, the previous domestic violence report. Everything was against Sarah. When my turn for defense came, I began the strategy I'd been preparing for months. Honorable Court, the real killer in this case is not currently present in this courtroom, but the person protecting the killer is here. A great commotion broke out in the courtroom. The judge achieved silence with his gavel. Can you prove your claims, Attorney Richardson? Certainly. First, I want to talk about the power outage that occurred on the night of the murder. I explained that the power outage was intentional, planned by the killer. Second, no one knows where the victim's brother, James Mitchell, was that night. This is just speculation, said the prosecutor. No, James Mitchell had serious gambling debts 2 days after Michael's death. He paid these debts. Where did the money come from? The courtroom began to get chaotic. The judge called a recess. During the break, my uncle came to me. Emma, what are you doing? I'm trying to ensure justice. This is very dangerous. Stop now. I can't stop. Uncle, this woman is innocent. Emma, you don't understand. This case ... double quotes. He couldn't finish his sentence. What about this case? Tell me. We'll talk later. Stop now. When the trial continued, I played my biggest card, honorable court. I have records showing that James Mitchell had phone conversations with someone who has interests in this case. A deep silence fell over the courtroom. Even the prosecutor was surprised. Who is this person? Asked the judge, Robert Richardson from Richardson and Associates Partners. My uncle. The courtroom was turned upside down. Reporters began flashing cameras. My uncle jumped to his feet. This is slander. Emma doesn't know what she's talking about. Phone records don't lie, I said, and I have something even worse. I pulled out photos of the secret agreement. This agreement arranges for James Mitchell to blame Sarah after killing Michael. The judge examined the documents. His face tensed. How are these documents obtained? Through legal means. From our law firm's files. My uncle jumped up. She's lying. She stole those documents. I didn't steal them. As an attorney, I have the right to protect my client. These documents prove Sarah's innocence. The prosecutor was in shock. We need to see the originals of these documents. Of course, all files of Richardson and Associates can be examined by court order. The judge ordered the seizure of the firm's files. The trial was postponed. That evening as I went home, I was very tired. I had fought against my own family. Had I done the right thing? The next day, a big scandal broke out. Police raided Richardson and Associates. Dozens of secret documents were found. Not only related to Sarah's case, but other cases too. My uncle was arrested. James Mitchell was also caught and confessed. He had killed Michael for money and conspired with my uncle to blame Sarah. At the final hearing, the judge announced Sarah's acquittal. The courtroom filled with applause. Sarah hugged me, crying. Thank you, Emma, for believing in me. Thank you, too, Sarah, for teaching me to believe in justice. As I left the courthouse, reporters bombarded me with questions. How did you expose your uncle? Don't you regret it? I don't regret it. Justice should be equally distant from everyone, including family ties. That night when I got home, Justice greeted me. Justice, today real justice triumphed, I told her. And so the sun set in Ocean City, ready for new stories to be written.